With pressure mounting on President Trump's attorney, Michael Cohen, in the Russia matter and the Stormy Daniels case, the stakes are epic. That is how Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz put it on ABC today.
This is an epic battle for the soul and the cooperation of Michael Cohen. And prosecutors have enormous weapons at their disposal. They have these enormous abilities to really put pressure and coerce a witness. On the other hand, the president has a unique weapon that no other criminal defendant or suspect ever has. He has the pardon power.
Joining me now is attorney Midwin Charles. She's also a contributor to Essence magazine. Let me take apart what Alan Dershowitz said there. He's mentioning these two sides in this battle. You've got the president and his pardon power. You've got the prosecutors on the other hand. Strikes me what he didn't mention there is the president, by virtue of being the president, has a lot of inherent power. We were talking at the top of the show with Mike Pesca and Kevin Cirilli just about the president's ability to signal, to send a message to Michael Cohen. He could have Kellyanne Conway do the same thing in the interviews today. How difficult is it, or how dangerous is it for somebody like the president to be doing that, to be sending signals, to be interfering with things where they stand right now?
Well, the problem with doing that is his attempt in doing that is to undermine the investigation, right? To sort of influence Michael Cohen in terms of what it is that he's going to say to Mueller or what he's not going to say to Mueller. And that, for all intents and purposes, is the definition of obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice is very broad. It constitutes witness tampering. It constitutes not providing information when asked to do so. It's incredibly broad. And when you look at, for example, Michael Flynn lied to the FBI, he's now a convicted felon. All of that is obstruction of justice. So it's very shocking, I think, that we are now at the point where the president of the United States appears to be sending direct messages to Michael Cohen in terms of, hey, listen, I've got your back, buddy. He's a really great guy. You know, and there were reports that said that he has treated him really poorly in the past. So it's very interesting to see this sort of contrast in how he seems to be reaching out to him. But in terms of what Alan Dershowitz said, he is correct in the sense where investigators do have a lot of power in terms of trying to get someone to provide them with information. But what seems to be lost here, I think, is if there is no criminal information to provide, there will be no flipping. And we've been talking, a lot of people have been talking about flipping. You would think we were talking about a gymnastics tournament or something. But there would be no need to flip if there were no crimes committed. And that should be the end of it. But yet everybody who supports Donald Trump seems to have already assumed that he's guilty or that he's done something wrong. And that should tell us a lot.
There's a lot that's unique about this case, strictly Michael Cohen's relationship with the sitting president of the United States. But put us in the mind of someone like Michael Cohen. If you have a client who's weighing flipping or wondering what's going to happen next, how much would he or she know at this point, now more than a week after these raids took place? What's the calculus that he or she would be going through at this point, trying to decide what to do next?
Well, again, it's difficult to say. See, again, I've always said that he's an attorney. He has, he has to adhere to professional rules of responsibility and ethics. But he seemed to have not been acting, at least as an attorney. He seemed to have been this fixer. At least that's the word that everybody used. But I would, of course, argue that he hasn't fixed anything. So we shouldn't call him that. But I digress. But at the end of the day, he has a family, he has a wife, he has children, so he clearly has interests in making sure that he doesn't spend the rest of his life in jail. So if he does something, the conventional wisdom, if he does know something, the conventional wisdom here is he's going to say something to protect himself. Most people would do that under these circumstances.
Midwin, always great to see you. Thank you very much. That's Midwin Charles joining me.